Hi, welcome. I'm Dr. Johnson. I'm a veterinarian in Marietta, Georgia, with a specialty in fish health, dogs, cats, alligators, snakes, turtles, lots of turtles. Anyway, see lots of animals. This video comes to you regarding a common problem in fish called white spot, also known as ick. It's a parasite that you'll see in your fish tank on the affected fish. They'll start to show signs of weakness and sometimes gasping at the surface. Their fins will clamp. You may notice a little bit extra mucus or cloudiness on their skin. Some fish, especially the small ones, will just up and die. And then looking closely at the fins and the bodies of these fish, you'll sometimes see a dusting of little white dots, and that's white spot disease. And it has several factors to it, and I'm going to go through those and hopefully be able to recap at the end what those are. White spot is common in certain kinds of fish. For example, black mollies, if they don't have a little salt in their water, they will get white spot. Very common. Goldfish are very prone to white spot because goldfish have a tendency to be in cooler water, and ick thrives in cool water. Tropical fish tanks that don't have a heater and they're supposed to, for example, if they get down into the low 70s, upper 60s, you may see a ick or white spot outbreak in that tank. Fish that are under stress from poor water quality, and I go on and on and on about water quality. In fact, it's the start of every fish disease case, including white spot. Poor water quality weakens the fish, making them more vulnerable to white spot. I think the best way to prevent ick would be to quarantine your fish when you get them in. If you have a smaller fish tank off to the side that's running, always running, don't just set it up and expect it to be good water for those fish. Have a smaller fish tank. So if you have a 30-gallon fish tank set up, it would probably be cool to have, say, a 15 somewhere else, heated, cycled, running, beneficial bacteria, the whole thing, that you dump all your new fish as you get them in slowly over time, that you bring them, put them in that as a quarantine, keep them there for about a week or so and watch for disease to break out. And then if you see that disease break out in that smaller tank, it's easier to treat and you don't bring disease into the main system to infect your other fish. So, where does it come from? Well, as you might suspect, it comes from other fish that you buy without quarantine. And you put them, these new fish, into your system. The ick organisms that you may not even see on the incoming fish, the ick organisms start to reproduce. And their reproductive life cycle starts on the fish. The cysts that you see, those white spots, they burst open and let swarmers out that go to the bottom of the fish tank. They lay there for a period of time, and then those cysts on the bottom of the fish tank, they burst open, and a bunch of little swarming baby ick jump out, thousands and thousands and thousands, and they get on the fish and turn back into more white spots. So it's this vicious cycle, but I'm telling you that not so that you can memorize it and seem so smart. I'm telling you that because if you notice, the fish is half of the host of that parasite. That there is a period of time when the parasite is falling to the bottom, laying on the bottom, and then swimming up back to the fish to make more white spots. And it is during that phase, when the swarmers are going back up to the fish, that you can interrupt that life cycle. It is just about impossible to treat ick on the fish or in the packet on the bottom. In those two conditions, they're pretty much resistant to what your treatment is on white spot. So any of your treatments that you use for ick are used to accelerate the life cycle. Accelerate it, I know, right? Doesn't make sense. To accelerate or hasten the life cycle, because what you're trying to do is get the cysts off the fish and into the water where they can be treated by these medications. My two favorite medications for ick are salt, believe it or not, table salt, 0.3%, preferably not iodized, but if it's iodized, that's okay. And there is a list of animals that shouldn't be exposed to salt. Certain kinds of fish, just a very few. Live plants don't handle salt very well, and certain kinds of snails aren't going to make it through salt. Neither will most ciliates. No, ick won't make it. Chilodenol, Costia has a tendency to die. There's a lot of parasites. You'll be hearing a lot about salt, so I'll make a whole video on salt for you. But salt stays in the water, you see. So if you're running salt at 0.3%, which is a specific amount. Please check out the salt video. But when you're running salt in the system, the salt is always there. It doesn't evaporate, doesn't dissipate, doesn't go away, doesn't bind anything. It just stays there. So when the ick organisms fall off the fish, go down to the bottom of the tank, and then burst open from the bottom of the tank, those swarmers come out, they die. They just die. What'll happen is when you put salt in a system with freshwater fish, the cysts will remain there for a day or two, fall off the fish still aren't looking better, the swarmers come up and die before they get back on the fish. And so with salt, it might take 2 days, 3 days under certain temperatures, and we'll talk about that in a second, 2 or 3 days for the white spots to finally clear. Don't think the salt's not working, because it is. In fresh water. Saltwater fish have their own special version of ick, by the way. It's called cryptocaryon. We can talk about that in another video. But freshwater white spot then is a stress-based ciliated protozoan parasite that causes white cysts on the fish and can be treated with salt. And the salt is only effective on the swarmer phase, coming up off the bottom of the tank to the fish again. This is true for any medication that you use for ick. So let me talk about one more. Another parasite treatment I like to use for ick, where fish and plants might be sensitive, is a product called Clout. It's from Mardel, manufactured by Fritz out in Texas. So I don't know if you Amazon it up, or if you go to one of my websites, you'll see links to Mardel Clout. It's a tablet. And I will do a video specifically on how to treat with Mardel Clout. I love that stuff. It doesn't stay in the system for very long. The problem there being that if a packet goes to the bottom and comes up as a swarmer, you kind of have to hope that the Mardel is there the Clout is there to intercept those swarmers, and sometimes it's not. So it might be a little bit harder for Clout to get on top of ick than it would be for salt to do. But I still have had good success with it. Basically, if you're going in there on a daily or every other day basis with the Clout, with ick, I would probably go daily. It's very safe. And what you'll be doing is you'll be keeping just enough level of Clout in there with enough frequency that it will knock off the swarmers as they come up, and you'll beat ick with Clout more safely than salt, I must say, and your live plants will survive it. I have not found Clout to stain silicone and other ornaments in the systems that I've been using it in. People say that, but I don't know if that's just something they heard, something they suspect because Clout colors the water blue or not. Okay, so those two treatments are, I've found to be quite effective, and that's what I would recommend for freshwater systems. We were talking a little bit about accelerating the life cycle, why you would want to hasten the life cycle, and that basically is to get the ick to go through the cycle to make swarmers coming up off the bottom, because you can only kill those swarmers, if you recall. Temperature does that. And so what you might consider doing, if possible, and if you can do it safely, is try to get the tank with good oxygenation. Maybe put in an extra air stone into the system. Try and improve oxygenation and get the water temperature up into 70. 78 would be nice, 80, 82. And I should do a video on water temperature, because there are some caveats to that. For example, if your water in the tank is too cold, your biological filtration isn't going to work very well, and the ick is a problem. Water temperatures that are too high, you have dissolved oxygen issues, water quality becomes a little harder to maintain, and fish metabolism is up. The growth is faster, parasites clear faster, but you can even get it so warm that the beneficial bacteria start to have a problem, but that's the subject of another video. So to recap, why don't I just run a recap type video on the tail end of this? It's just going to go over white spot. So check it out, and thanks for watching.